Can the viewers tell that Jeremy and I are not the same person in the same suit right now? We are two lawyers.
We look like fine. Just make the joke.
Wait. Human pseudopede.
No. Adam and I look like two brothers that are wearing the matching Christmas jammies. That is the equivalent of how I feel on the inside when you wear a similar suit.
I'm trying to adjust the vertical.
We're going to tell that story on today's episode.
What's embarrassing is when you go to do a consult together. Normally, Jeremy and I are really good in consults, but when you show up looking like both looking like Isley brothers, you're like, "Hey, we're here to do your concert."
All right, I'm going to say what every judge says to us, which is, Mr. Nachman, can you please introduce yourself for the record, please?
Well, thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Lawyers on the Rocks. The Lawyers on the
I
Rocks
forgot
are Jeremy Eldridge, dressed squared.
Like Adam Crandall.
I dress up like Uncle Adam
And
today.
I'm Kurt Nachman, and I'm dressed like I'm going to the Belmont. We're produced by Gideon at Up Next Creative. Jeremy Eldridge practices criminal defense. I'm Kurt Nachman. I handle civil litigation, personal injury matters, and some criminal defense. And Adam Crandall, what do you do?
Dress like Jeremy.
Does
Get
whatever
Haitians
immigration
TPS.
lawyers do.
Not today, my friend. Today we got them green card.
Nice.
I still don't know what accent that was. Please continue.
It was Russian Haitian.
On this week's episode, we are sampling the Belmont Jewel cocktail.
There's a few.
We have a long set of show notes. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get through it, but we do have a number of really great topics that go with a very stiff drink.
And delicious.
And you can check us out online at lawyersontheRocks.com, Facebook, Instagram. Email us at lawyersontheRocks@gmail.com. Whatever it is you do, please be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, Stitcher, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
I have to start by saying that one of our favorite listeners, listener Peter, has already trolled us by telling us that we suck because we're never on time.
Welcome to being a defense attorney.
We have jobs. Like, I was literally on the phone until 3:59. You were in with clients, Adam, until 4:05, and then Jeremy had to poop.
I mean, number one, yes. And number two, if this was a dentist podcast, we'd be a half an hour to an hour and a half late and then not apologize.
Why not? Why?
Because they always start at 2:30.
Ah, I knew the joke was coming.
Yeah,
I knew it.
I thought it was going to be an anti-dentite joke.
Anti-dentite.
I can't even look at you. Looking at you, I feel like I'm looking in the mirror.
No, it's
Like,
one of those funhouse mirrors where on one side you're tall and skinny,
and then the other side I'm short and chubby. This feels like this is like a bad Frosted Mini Wheats commercial.
You said it, Jeremy.
It's okay. I'm very comfortable with who I am.
What are we drinking today, Adam?
We did not plan this either. This is my new suit, courtesy of the fine tailors down at the Quintessential Gentleman. I just got the suit last week, picked it up. I was very excited to wear it because, as viewers of, not listeners, but viewers of the podcast would know, I ain't really been in a suit much lately. I was very excited to wear it today, and then in walks Jeremy after I get back from court, and man, it was like standing on that crossroads where the Starbucks is across the street from the other Starbucks. Like time stood still for a moment.
Yeah, I usually
You're
just
like,
text your wife in the
"Damn."
morning to see what you're wearing, but I usually can't match your sweatpants.
Listener
That's the
Steve
problem.
wants to know why you're dressed like Borat.
There's that gray suit that does. I'm glad no one called me Borat today. So you can have that one.
What are we drinking, Adam?
So I guess I hope the Belmont is this weekend because I said, what do they drink at the Belmont? And we looked it up and we're like, fuck it, let's drink it. So I hope the Belmont is tomorrow. It's sometime soon, I think. We missed the Preakness this year. I don't think we podcasted that year. Kentucky Derby, we probably drank bourbon for that. We usually do. So today we're drinking the Belmont Jewel cocktail. It is 2 ounces of bourbon, 2 ounces of lemonade, and an ounce of pomegranate. Shake it, strain it, pour it over ice, and I've decided why they made this drink for the Belmont.
Why is that?
Because it tastes the same at the beginning as it will at the end after the ice inevitably melts. So when you're standing, it tastes like a watered down something.
It's pretty tasty, though.
It's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad.
The lemonade allows it to last.
But there's no tartness.
I hear what you're saying.
It's like you expect a little tartness.
Yes.
There's none of that.
No.
And it's like, oh, fuck, my ice melted, which is probably how they all taste at the Belmont Stakes in the hot
Which,
sun.
frankly, if you think about it, is exactly the same way that I would compare the Preakness drink or the Derby drink, which is a mint julep, right?
True,
Because
fair.
the whole reason
fair.
you do shaved ice and you put the mint in the bourbon is that as the ice melts, it waters down the bourbon a little bit, but you still get the
And
mint.
the Black-Eyed Susan.
Black-Eyed Susan once again is once again a play with mint.
Right.
There's also and I'm blanking what the other Maryland drink that is a similar drink with that the nickname for it is swamp water, but similar ingredients. Yes, you don't have to raise your hand here, especially when you're giant and German.
You and the seersucker.
The Belmont is in fact on Saturday.
Thank God we didn't fuck that up.
Speaking of fucking things up,
Yeah, I really thought
going
this
straight to
story.
This is not
We're going
fucking
to
things
there.
up. This is just fucking things.
Yeah, this should have been like this is the story that this is. I mean, it happened in Maryland. It's just this could be a story that if you told me it was Florida, I'm surprised it's Maryland, and I'm surprised the county.
yeah, I'm
not surprised the county.
No, I wasn't.
All right, I know that. I'm sorry. It was just that was a horrible initial reaction.
The only-
I'll just let Kurt go.
The only surprising thing about the county is that they weren't related.
Wow.
That
So-
was so much better than what I said.
we have not done a judicial judges gone bad story or lawyers gone bad story in a little while.
Judicial disabilities on the rocks.
Judicial disabilities
Because
on
it
the
doesn't
rocks.
happen in Maryland a lot, not to this
Well,
extent.
So no, definitely not to this extent. And you know, with all the stuff that we've talked about with judges gone bad has been far, far, far less egregious conduct than this. So a lawsuit was filed in United States District Court for the District of Maryland by a former jury commissioner and law librarian who says the judge got her the job, forced her to have sex with him in court chambers, and threatened to fire her and destroy everyone she knew if she stopped providing sexual favors. So this is Garrett County, which is Western Maryland, far
It's
Western
West Virginia.
Maryland. It is essentially West Virginia,
It's
but it's
Deep
Deep Creek. So it's like fancy West Virginia.
Yeah. Well,
Garrett County Judge
lake.
Raymond G. Struben, who's the only judge at the circuit court level in that county. I think there's a district court judge, but they actually shared district court with Allegheny County.
Exactly, which is next door.
So he called her into work and told her she should provide him with 50 blowjobs to celebrate her birthday.
Why was she 50?
I'm not. It doesn't. It would be interesting to know that.
I'm
That's
gonna
a
say
random
say what no man has ever said.
number.
That's too many blowjobs.
Just so much teeth.
Wow, that's just too many.
4-year period during which Struben required Ludwig to regularly have sex to keep her job. I looked up the firm. This is a no joke, legit firm. Pittsburgh. For anybody that knows Garrett County, it's really not that far. It's about
Right.
an hour and a half from Pittsburgh,
Right.
Pennsylvania. Terrorized her, told her if she didn't have sex with him, she would lose her health insurance, would not receive cancer treatments.
It's just so fucked up.
There are 173 circuit court judges in the state of Maryland. Struben is the only one in Garrett County. It's fascinating because it does go into detail about the EEO policy and training and implementation of EEO policies, and it permits the judges to act in the workplace. I guess
Well, they did an investigation, and the reason we have a lawsuit. Let's back up for a second. So the reason we have a lawsuit is that this lady filed a complaint with EEO. And they did interviews, they did an investigation, and nothing happened. And so there was no finding of fault. And so she, after this investigation, she then retained this law firm. The two other things that you have to point out are, number one, is that she's incredibly specific about, jokes aside, about the sexual acts that she was asked to perform. One of which was that during her cancer treatments, he asked her to wear different wigs so he could feel like he was fucking different women. He also said that, and I was going to make light of this earlier, but it's in pretty poor taste, that he would make certain signs like a catcher to a pitcher. So he would do the Vulcan symbol. Is that the Vulcan symbol? Live long and prosper. He would Spock her in the courtroom to say, you're going to come back to chambers and have sex with me afterwards. And so when you first read the article and you read some of this stuff, there's a tinge of dark humor in there until you get to the fact that at the end, she says that he forcibly raped her in the courtroom. I mean, in his chambers, and that he pulled her pants down and had forcible sex with her. So the other thing I have to wonder, which all of this literature is silent to, is whether whether the Garrett County Sheriff's Department or the Maryland State Police would be looking in, because there is no statute of limitations on would be second degree rape.
What is a little bit bizarre is, we've talked a little bit about how the Commission on Judicial Disabilities, which is like the overseeing body who oversees judges' behavior and misbehavior, was tipped off to this. Because I have a hard time imagining, with the tack that our Court of Appeals has set recently, with coming down pretty hard on judges for far less egregious behavior, that they knew about this. And obviously it's a huge black mark for the Maryland judiciary. I think it's
But is there a judicial disability? Because this article goes right to Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. There's no mention of criminal charges. There's no mention, and please correct me if I'm wrong, about judicial disabilities. Right. And frankly, what someone a little bit more in the know out that way, who I don't want to put out there, said to me was that the rumor out there is that, and it's mentioned here, is that this did begin as a consensual relationship. And there's an allegation that he tried to break things off, and that once he broke things off, that this tale sort of took a different turn. So it'll be interesting to see where this sort of goes. Kurt, you've dealt with more EEOC cases that have come through, and it's not uncommon for someone to file a complaint with EEOC for it to take a year, 6 months,
yes,
to get a decision, and then to go to a lawyer and try to sue. So
right,
that part is not all that strange. I think what is strange to me is, given our experience with judges who have been in trouble for far lower allegations, that there's not even a whisper or a mention of that here.
And that kind of bothers me a little bit. I mean, I think that, criminal investigation would be appropriate. An investigation by judicial disabilities would be appropriate. Whether or not anybody's cleared of those charges, that's something totally different. But, you bring in MSP, bring in someone from outside Garrett County to kind of look at it, bring in an independent prosecutor to look at
all
the
these courtrooms have court watch, at least in my experience. So court watch is, we call them the blue man.
If the dude is making the Vulcan hand symbol,
that's what I'm saying.
You're going to see that shit. You know, it may take a while to watch all the videos that you review.
Well, right. That's what I was going to ask is, let's say, let's like back away from the rape charge real quick and say, if it was actually consensual sex, but he's like motioning to her in court, is still yes.
It's still a problem, but it's not criminal. It's not
the
rape.
answer to your question is yes.
But so
that should, that's where judicial disabilities comes in.
Well,
right?
and then I don't know.
Also, why is it called judicial disabilities? Because it makes it sound like he is missing a leg.
You're not lying. I know it's like orphans court. It's the same as orphans court. We need to change some of these names.
Well,
you ain't an orphan.
Here's a good question. If you are a judge and you have a relationship with someone who, I suppose, if she's a jury commissioner, is a subordinate of yours, is that something that you're required to disclose to who?
Judicial HR.
He's the chief judge, and so the way that so this is a little.
But
like
all she is
baseball.
the jury commissioner. So she doesn't. She answers to the judge in charge of jury, which would be him in a solo judge jurisdiction.
So in the district court, which is the lower level court, it's a statewide agency. So there are people in Annapolis. Judge Morrissey is the chief judge for all of the district courts in the state of Maryland. He is essentially the head judge. He's the head boss, okay? Each county, the circuit court, is its own independent body. So they don't have, they like kind of have
They're
oversight.
beholden to the chief judge of the state of Maryland.
They're beholden to Judge
Barbera
Barbera
right now.
But they're not beholden to really anybody else. They don't have a centralized
It's a
authority.
fiefdom. Yeah, it's a fiefdom.
It's a fiefdom. And that's why you find in circuit courts, there is such a varied practice as to what sort of, you call this person to get this done, you call this person to get that done. And so you have, every circuit court does things a little bit differently, which has been maddening for us during COVID, because every circuit court has done shit a little bit differently. And every day it changes and you try to figure it out. And so I don't know what the answer is here. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more questions than answers. They're very serious allegations. Obviously, the law firm that took it on thought that it had merit, and it is. Sometimes you look at these, and the reason that you go and look at the law firm, right, is to see, is this some sort of joke law firm that doesn't handle litigation like this, and then you go to the webpage and you go, okay, no, these guys are, because you're going to
This is
screen a
no
case like
joke,
this
right.
because the client's likely not paying for it. It's probably a contingency case. So if you get paid, if we get paid, you get paid. So, it's serious, and I guess we're just going to have to keep an eye on this moving forward.
Wow, that's depressing.
Yeah,
All right,
might want a drink.
on this week's episode of I Can't Believe It's Not Baltimore, yet another depressing episode. Basketball coach is a real baller. Life lessons rebound number 1. Do not steal from the cartel.
Did you write that headline?
No.
B-ball coach is a real baller, ? Life lessons rebound, number 1, comma.
Yeah, the colon is in the
Don't
wrong spot.
steal from the cartel.
This
How
is
is
actually
that?
from the BBC.
No,
No,
the
you
fuck
can
it's
tell.
not.
This is definitely from the grammar. You can tell.
Hmm.
This story has a bit of age to it, but it was so good we couldn't leave it behind. We had to bring it back.
A high school basketball coach in Union County, North Carolina, was killed in a shootout with Mexican drug cartel in Alamance County, North Carolina. I'm going to say North Carolina that way every time I say
You
it.
should,
by the way.
or North Kakalaki.
According to the Alamance County Sheriff's Office, Barney Harris died on Thursday, April 8th in a shootout with a drug cartel. Investigators said Harris and another person went to a stash house to steal money and drugs from the Sinaloa cartel. It was believed that this was during a home invasion for money and drugs. Harris and his partner, Stephen Alexander Stewart Jr., who was later identified as his brother-in-law, then killed a drug runner for the cartel before the shootout started. Harris was shot and killed during the gunfire. Harris was found inside the house, shot multiple times. He was wearing a bulletproof vest that obviously did not protect him from the ammunition used in the shooting. Stewart was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and first-degree burglary. I can tell you this right now. When we are dealing with the Mexican drug cartel, someone's probably going to die.
Yeah, the quotes here from the sheriff.
No, you need to finish that quote because it's somebody's probably going to die as a result of this right here.
I'm pretty sure he already did, right?
No, the second quote, he described the scene like an old Western shootout. Read what they found. Sheriff's office seized 5 firearms, $7,000 in cash, and what we really care about down south is 1.2 kilograms of suspected cocaine.
But again,
I'm pretty sure that's white gold, actually, is what they meant to say.
Boy.
You skip the best part. Detectives said multiple types of firearms were used, and the scene looked like an old Western shootout. Very next sentence. Other mobile homes in the area were also struck by bullets. It was like an old Western shootout, except at the mobile home park.
Yes, with a cartel hunting cocaine.
The Sinaloa cartel.
Yeah, and it's about, you figure it's, depending on what you're paying for a kilo of cocaine. You're in the 5 figures, right? So at most you're probably talking about $40,000, $50,000 worth of cocaine on the high end, probably more like $20,000 or $30,000 worth of cocaine.
And $7,000 in cash. Come on. It was probably a $40,000 or $50,000 take on
The
this.
problem is, and why I sent Kurt this story, is that when you get to reading about the guy, everyone knows by the time this comes out, right? Everyone knows that he's a basketball coach. Everyone knew he robbed the cartel. Everyone knew he died a shootout. But still, everyone comes out and says, Union Academy, where Harris worked as a teacher and basketball coach, issued a statement on his death where he served as the varsity's men's track and men's basketball coach at the school. And they talk about what an amazing teacher he was and how everyone loved him and how they couldn't imagine this ever happening. I'm not saying the school shouldn't do that. I'm not saying that you can't.
Isn't it literally the plot of a TV show?
So not is it only that, I will tell you this. I was in front of Judge.
Which one?
Breaking Bad.
Yeah. There's a school teacher and a drug dealer. Come on.
I
man.
thought it was that vice principal show with what's his name? What was that? Remember that the guy Ricky? What's the guy's name?
Oh God, you sound like my father describing a television show. You remember that show with that guy? It was on that channel at that time. You know what I'm saying? We used to sit on that sofa and watch that TV together.
It was called Vice Principals or something. It had the mullet dude from the
I don't want to go off on too many tangents, but on the next episode, my daughter's vice principal at her school looks like Danny.
That's it, Danny McBride. That's the show.
I shit you not. My elementary school vice principal at Elena's school looks like homeboy. Looks like Danny McBride. Listener Peter can verify that comment. It's fucking amazing. Mustache, haircut, everything. All right, getting back to this story. What's great about this is that they release so much of this information. So we know it's the Sinaloa cartel. We know that he's moving all this cocaine. And then we get to the fact that in this article, they want to tell us that the biggest draw, and they give us a bunch of this, third grade drug education, that this all comes and they name every interstate that runs through North Carolina.
Except I-10 does not run through North Carolina.
Isn't that in Houston?
Yeah, it runs through runs
That's where I was
east
going.
west, like 1,000 miles south.
Yeah,
of
so
North
they're
Carolina.
like runs through I-95, I-85, Route 70, I-40, and then I-10. I'm like, half of these fucking roads are not in North Carolina.
Yeah.
But, go ahead, because obviously the BBC got this one legit. And then they compared the cartel to a Fortune 500 company. So I just want to say, in reality, I think this is the Charlotte Observer. You are not very fucking observant.
Let's do a little. Let's pick out a couple of other fun facts here. The victim in this case was identified in the first paragraph as
Adam Crandall's client.
as Barney Harris, but in the statement released by Union Academy, they identify him by his full name, which is pretty classic, Barney Dale Harris II.
It's only a little bit southern.
Barney Dale Harris II. Also,
Isn't he technically a junior then? Or do I not know how this works?
I'm not
It
sure.
depends.
It
on
depends.
what?
Maybe his grandfather was Barney Dale Harris and his dad was just Dale Harris.
Oh, does
Yeah,
that does
see, I
that
don't
work
know.
that way?
Jews
how that
don't
works.
Jews
It
don't
can
do
definitely work
the
that way, yeah.
Oh, really? You can skip a generation and still be the second?
Yeah, I mean, look at popes.
Do you know what none of you realize?
yeah, that's
the man
good.
the man doesn't just have 2 first names. The brother's got 3 first names. That's some southern fucking shit. I bet his AKA is like Dale Barney Harris.
Here's
Barney Daniel.
There's also a 100% chance
That
his
you're
middle
related to
name-
him?
No, that his middle name that he was named after Dale Earnhardt. 100% chance.
I would usually debate that with you, but why can't they just put it? Shouldn't it just been the 3 at the end instead of the second then?
Also, I saved this
Barney
tidbit for the
Three
last, but
Harris.
you guys, I'm going to throw this out there and just let you guys take as many whacks at this as you want. I did a stint.
That was the last story.
I did a
actually.
stint in Alamance County.
Don't
Like in
know.
jail? You
no,
were in prison
Alamance
there.
Community College. I did a stint at Alamance Community College.
Was that where your Slim Jim factory was as well?
No, that was in Garner. That was in a different part of the state.
So where's
altogether.
Alamance?
It's not far from Chapel Hill. It is the next county over from Orange County.
It's on
which is
I-10
Chapel
across
Hill.
from I-40 down Route 44.
Not far. It's headed out sort of west of
Nowhere
Chapel Hill.
fucking close to I-10.
Nowhere close to I-10, but there's a chance. There's a chance. I was not at Union Academy. I was at Alamance
Is there a lot of
Community College,
Sinaloa
but-
down there? I mean, look, I'm sure there's a ton of cocaine.
That's what I was wondering. Did they follow him?
Well, look, with all the colleges down there, you're going to see a fuck ton of cocaine down there anyway.
Well, but-
because there are a bunch of wealthy people down there. B, because you have a fuck ton of college kids and cocaine runs through college campuses.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not at all surprised that you have, we have cocaine, drug trafficking, in every single major city, right? But when you start talking about, like, Alamance County, which I don't know how populated it is in mobile home parks, and then they're like, this is how we run stash houses. This is definitely not how we run stash houses.
Yeah, I
in
mean that's
Maryland.
like I would say Alamance County, as far as stash houses go, is more of like it's probably a suburban stash house.
I mean, I don't know that
Maybe
your
a
logic
little
follows
exurban.
through though when you're thinking about, like, for instance, the opioid epidemic in West Virginia, which is not a particularly populated state. It's
No, but
mostly
I would imagine
rural and-
pills. No, I would go
Yeah, but
pills
that's
in mobile
pills.
homes and stuff like that. But when you're talking about the cartel and moving, maybe you're right, bricks of fentanyl and stuff like that, it's just harder to get there. Like, you have the truck drivers bring it up, they come.
it
come up
definitely
this
seems
way.
like. I mean,
It's just not
it's
as
a
normalized
very-
of an area. I guess
it's a
that's what I'm trying to
very-
get to. It's just weird to me.
It's a strange place for Sinaloa to put a stash house.
That's thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you. You're more eloquent than me
Notwithstanding
today.
its relative, close and
Isn't the
locale
fact that you're
with
saying that it's a strange place to put a stash house mean it's a good place to put a stash house?
That was
yeah,
a-
but
that was
Barney
not a
Dale,
bad question.
Barney
except
found
Barney
it.
Dale Harris knew about it.
True.
I want the Barney Dale Harris movie where he goes down to Sinaloa and he's like George Young, by the way, who just died. Do you guys not know who George Young is? Do you? He was the character that Johnny Depp played
Yes.
in the cocaine
yeah,
trafficking
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And so he just died. And George Young famously went down to Central and
he
South.
was like flying planes. And
Yeah,
shit,
and he
right?
was
Yeah.
he went down there and said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna figure this out myself." So I just want to see Barney Dale Harris go down there like, "Come on, man, you can give me some of that cocaine.
He can't.
I can do it.
He can't, man. He's
I can do it."
he's
Gone.
dead.
Well, now
He
he's
gone.
dead. Yeah,
He
now.
gone. He dead.
Yep.
Hey, Barney Dale.
Sorry, 3 up.
So the question is,
Oh God, was that the
has
white power
has,
symbol?
has Barney
Shit,
Dale?
I meant which 3 do you use now?
Has anyone ever been killed hitting a stash house in Baltimore? No. No fucking way.
How about
Do you want to bring in Natalie or John to see how
you
many
mean
of them they
today?
have?
when I was in, no,
Do you mean this afternoon?
Listen. So
Since lunch?
Jeremy was not in general felony, which handled home invasion cases, and I shit you not, like probably 70% of the home invasion cases that we had was like, what was taken? My Xbox. Anything else? $20. Anything else? Nope. and as soon as you hear that, you're like, yeah, you know, there's a fucking stat. Like, you know, they took a fucking brick.
But you know what they
took
all
a
are
brick.
now, and in Baltimore County, I feel like is the king of them right now. Because in Baltimore County, they're all mostly weed that you hear about. Because I was at bail reviews the other day and habeases, and you hear them, and it was every one of them started with and ended with the fact that they got the guy's cell phone who set up the drug deal. So like Michael writes Daniel, "Hey, can I come over to buy some weed?" And then Daniel gets shot, robbed, raped, and sodomized, you know, and then they go to Michael and he's like, "I didn't do anything." And they're like, "Really? Because we have you there at the time." Text message. And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I just went there to buy some weed." And then things went haywire, you know, and it's just, but every one of them is like that. So I'm not giving any future advice to any listeners that are considering doing home invasions, but do me a favor. Stop fucking texting the people you're going to fucking rob.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just making it easier for police, right? It's ridiculous. I guess they're that just fucking dumb. All right.
None of them are as good
let's,
as Barney Dale.
No.
Let's button this up with a couple comments from listener Steve, who says Barney Dale Harris definitely drinks Natural Light,
Agreed.
aka
Probably.
Alamance County Lemonade.
Ooh, that's good.
Does he drink it room temp too, or does he like it ice cold?
Why are we talking about it in the present tense? That motherfucker's dead.
I bet they're all raising a Natty Light though at his funeral.
I bet, actually, Steve, I'm going to correct you. I guarantee you Barney Dale drank natural ice.
Is that different?
Pounders.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ice filtered.
5.9%
Oh,
alcohol
yeah, that
instead
shit's
of
hot.
5.3%.
You never had an ice house
alcohol.
before?
You know, I think I'm a little more of a high class hoe these days.
No, you don't drink beer. You don't know.
I know. Yeah, don't look at you. That was really a judgmental face right
You
there.
don't drink beer. You don't know shit about ice
Man,
house.
you just
All right,
you
so,
just penis
so
smash
we're
your
all in unanimous, strenuous agreement that this did in fact happen in Baltimore, but
Oh, I can't. This is my
the
favorite
next
story of the day.
story is even better.
You got to
So-
read the title. Read
Hold
the
on.
title.
Wait, but before you do, I just want it noted for the record that this story 100% came from the BBC. I sent this to you. I know that this is the BBC.
sex toy mistaken for real grenade. Evacuations and hilarity ensue. I'm pretty sure that may actually be my typo.
Yeah, that was you. The BBC doesn't misspell.
Can you tell us what an evacuation is?
Explosive
I think that Garrett
experts.
County judge had a couple evacuations.
Wow.
Explosive experts were called to investigate a suspicious device in the German state of Bavaria on Monday night, only to find out that it was a sex toy. Officials said the grenade-shaped item was spotted in a clear plastic bag near a forest in the city of Passau. A female jogger alerted police to the discovery, and a specialist explosives unit was dispatched from the nearby district of Tittling.
So just so you can see, I highlighted that word because I was waiting to see if how Kurt was going to read that because I thought it was a joke.
Can you read that in the proper German?
Tittling?
It's the same?
It's the same.
I
yeah.
love it.
Tittling.
Yeah, it's just a tittling.
After careful examination of the bag's contents, the officers quickly realized that it was a rubber dummy. Hausenberg police said in a press release. The bag was emptied, the contents examined. It was an empty tube of lube, 2 unused condoms in a tin, and a USB cable.
What?
Not quite sure what the USB cable is for.
What?
An online search confirmed their suspicions. There really are sex toys modeled on hand grenades.
Where do you put them, Kurt?
That was my question.
That's your question, Jeremy. Where do you put them?
You put them in your bomb shelter. It's a lubricant.
Shit up.
I did. This one was so easy. Yeah, come on, guys. This is so easy. It's so not to where you house them. It's just great when you pull the pin. I've been waiting to do this story all fucking day. I've been practicing my German accent on the way back from court. You guys aren't asking the obvious question. Why is there 2 unused condoms? There should be one and a really stretched out bunghole.
Local police, you'll be happy to know, said they properly disposed of the items, which appeared to be in an unusual location for some time.
Yeah, I bet they were.
How they came to be there and why they remained there can only be imagined, the statement said. And this is like the saddest part.
Side note.
Sidebar, unexploded World War II munitions are often found in Germany, prompting mass evacuations.
So here's the thing. So does it rumble and then make a blow-up sound? Is that what this thing does? If you're plugging it in to charge it, it's got to do something.
Oh, you think it's got a
USB
plug-in?
cable you think
It
was
says-
for the... No, I just assumed it was an unrelated object, but
Right,
now that you
right.
say that...
So if you
That's
look
what I
at
thought.
if you look at the picture, which we
Yeah.
can share
Okay,
the notes,
can we
It
looks
wait,
like
wait,
an
wait.
AC.
It's queued up.
Oh,
It's
I
queued
already
up.
had it up
Do
a
it.
moment ago. I'll bring it back up.
It looks like an AC power plug. I'm sure listener Peter is going to comment, and he's like, no, don't worry. That's the Einstein Bavarian grenade. It vibrates at a speed of 60 kilowatts per second, and then goes boom in your bunghole. Dude, that thing is big.
Well,
Is it? How do
Dude,
you
that
know?
Aquaglide thing looks like a tube of
Yeah, but
toothpaste
look
in
at
a kid's bathroom.
Look at the USB
that shit is
cable up
squozing.
above that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's just a
yeah.
it's a tiny bunghole.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's,
No. Do you see how much dude, that Aquaglide thing is so emptied? Seriously.
It's nicht ein großer bunghole.
Yeah, you have to use the Aquaglide. You have to squeeze it. I mean, look at the top. The Aquaglide looks abused.
The Aquaglide does
Yeah.
definitely look
Somebody
abused.
somebody had
What
a
is
lot
the
of fun.
what is the white object in the
Isn't that
bottom
the
left
Those are-
corner? Is
those
that
gotta
the
be
is
the
that the
condoms.
condom tin?
Prophylactics.
Oh yeah, they were in a tent.
Did you see the connection that this was also found in Garrett County in the courthouse? And we called it mass
Where-
evacuation. For Judge Struben. See if you say his name like that, all of a sudden we can combine all of the
Shouldn't
stories.
it be evacuation?
Somebody's going to get evacuated later.
That's a good story, guys. That's
I'm about to be so mean on this next story. I
that
can't
is
wait to sound like a Karen.
tailor made for Lawyers on the Rock.
Hey, do you know how you know a vegan?
How?
They already fucking told you.
I thought that's how you know if you're gluten free.
Do you know if you're gluten free?
You already told
fucking
me.
Told you. Hey, do you know if you rode Peloton this morning? Yeah, you already fucking told me.
Because they already posted it on Facebook.
All right. We're talking about the Peloton recall and what it means. And this is a couple weeks old. Peloton announced Wednesday a voluntary recall of both its treadmill machines over safety concerns in the United States.
Should have stuck with bikes.
The announcement marked a major reversal of Peloton's initial reaction and comes weeks after discussions with the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission. In a statement, Peloton apologized for not acting more quickly to resolve the issue after reports of one death and dozens of injuries. I want to be clear.
One
Peloton-
death and dozens of injuries.
Peloton made a mistake in our initial response to the CPSC's request that we recall the Tread Plus. We should have engaged more productively with them from the outset, as opposed to telling them to fuck off. And for that, I apologize. By the way, he didn't say that second part.
No, but the quotes might as well be that bad when in the same paragraph they say, we were concerned that people, when they were leaving the room, that things could wiggle their way under. Wiggle their way under.
Oh, you're moving a little further ahead. So the CPSC received 18 reports that the touchscreen loosened, 6 reports of the touchscreen detaching and falling. The group had previously warned of the product last month after a child died. There were dozens of other reported injuries. So basically,
Ran to death.
it's got an so anybody that's ever run on a treadmill, there's a belt, right? And that's what you're running on, and the belt runs around, and apparently it uses individual rigid rubberized slats or treads that are interlocked and ride on a rail instead of a thinner continuous belt. There's also a large gap between the floor and the belt of the Tread Plus, leaving room for things to wiggle their way under. They released a very graphic video captured by a home camera of a young boy being pulled under one of the machines and struggling to free himself.
The audio was off, and they were like, Roger, get under that Peloton. Need to pay for college.
It costs $4,300. It's interesting because there is a smaller, cheaper version on sale in the UK, which does not include the same rigid slats. CNBC, no one commented.
I'm making a little bit light of this because yes, I have a Peloton bike, and I'm part of some of the.
Do you?
I haven't told you.
Wait, you ride Peloton?
No, but not enough.
How did I not know?
Because I don't tell you enough. Because I'm not on it enough. Don't worry. I'll tell you starting on Monday.
All right.
But if you go to the listservs, everybody was wildly insensitive because a lot of the people said, "Oh, I have a small child, and I put this in a workout room, and I put it in a space where." Because if you go on the internet and you look at other treadmill kid deaths, this is not limited by any stretch of the imagination of Peloton. Like when we did the IKEA bookcase story, which was monstrous litigation, that was limited to fucking IKEA. That's not what we're talking about here. So this story is Peloton, but when you look on the internet, there's a lot of these exercise machine injuries. So some of it, frankly, and I was making a little bit light of it, was a little bit of common sense, knowing like, oh, well, if I'm going to have this device running that has a motor, maybe I should have a clue about where my child is. I'm not going Darwinism and say anybody should have been hurt or shouldn't have been warnings, but some of this, when we see stuff like this, is like, this isn't just like, oh, Peloton made a device that is inherently dangerous for children. It's that
there's questions, right?
Yeah,
there's a reason why there's safety poles on devices like this.
Correct.
I don't know whether or not the Peloton has a safety pole on it, but the reason why it's there is due to litigation.
But there's a little bit of this in, I'm not going to say all, but in most products liability cases, there is, and I'm friends with a lawyer who does products liability defense, and I've talked to him over the years about some of the cases.
He's handling Adam's grenade dildo product liability case.
Yeah, it malfunctioned. But there's a little bit of like, you didn't fucking do it right, you dumb fuck, in a lot of these cases, right? To your point about having some common sense and like, now, if it's a defective device, then that's one thing. Or if there aren't proper safety warnings, or that's another
defective pour.
But in a lot of these products liabilities cases, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, like you bought an office chair and you decided to stand on it to change a light bulb above your desk.
Yeah, used for unintended purposes.
Right, exactly. There's a lot of that kind of stuff.
No one in this office has ever done that.
No, of course not. That actually
I bought a big and tall chair, so that wouldn't happen to me. But your point is well taken. This one just this one's even funnier to me, and funny in a shitty way that like people that have Pelotons, is why we make all the joke, love saying they own Pelotons, love talking about having Pelotons. And I'd read another article that talked about, frankly, the return rate on these was ridiculously low. I mean, Peloton stock really didn't dip a whole lot. You look at the numbers that came out for people, and people are like, I don't want to return it. I have no
company
interest in
stock is down 45% year to date as of the publication of this article.
That's because COVID
has it rebounded?
I was gonna say,
I thought it's rebounded, and I'm sure Uncle Peter over there will crush me on this.
So,
but it's all that the drop also had to do with the fact that they were cash poor.
My question is the numbers, right? Like you're talking about injuries at 1/100th of percent, and I don't want to minimize the death of a child, but that's 1/1000th of a percent for death, right?
Right.
So like I wonder, is this even a story if it's not a company that's very prominent, has a big public eye, and has a lot of money?
No. Well, it is, except we wouldn't talk about it if Jeremy didn't have a Peloton.
That is accurate. So look, product liability cases are difficult. I don't think anybody wants to like minimize the death of a child. I think we talked on a couple occasions about the IKEA case. Certainly we don't handle those types of matters, but we know lawyers that do. There's a firm in Annapolis that's well known for doing it. We know some firms in Baltimore that handle those kind of cases. You never know when something is purely a design issue. And in fact, we had that case last year that was a design issue with a parking lot. And a client of ours, shattered her ankle as a result of a faulty design. And thankfully, we were able to refer it to a law firm that handled that type of slip and fall case and was able to prove and got a really, really, really nice result for the client.
Look, this stuff is very real. I think why I bring up a little bit of humor to it is A, it's Friday and the Lawyers on the Rocks, but B, because there's a fine line sometimes between what Adam just said, which is unintended use or lacking common sense, and then a little bit of my favorite old toilet reading, which was the social Darwinism books. If anyone's ever read them, like the Filipino judge who decided to see if a grenade was functional by pulling the pin in court. So
apropos to our earlier story.
Exactly. Right. So you have to just wasn't charged, right? You really just sort of as an attorney, when you get some of these calls or when you're reading these stories, there's a little bit of going, is it a design defect? It's obviously people were hurt, but is there also a level of lacking common sense, user error?
Yeah. And as a plaintiff's
I'm not blaming
lawyer,
a child,
as a plaintiff's lawyer, so the questions you ask is like, has it happened to more than one person, right? Because if it happened to one person, you're like, oh, well, maybe they shouldn't have stood on the chair, or they shouldn't have done this, or they shouldn't have.
Like the IKEA bookcase.
Yeah.
The IKEA bookcase, I laughed at the first time, and then you made me read the article, and the numbers of the people that had been injured were astounding. Yeah. And that I think is the difference of why I'm a little bit, I'm hedging a little bit more so here, but I'm sure, let's be real, as any medical malpractice lawyer would tell you, or you handle personal injury cases, you start with the damages and work backwards. So there's an attorney that's here with a severely injured child or a dead child, and then they're going to sue. Peloton will pay out, and they'll all move the fuck on, and everybody else that is angry that it upset their Peloton usage will move the fuck on too. The question is, what if any changes will they make in design moving forward? Because you're right, they're going to make, or else they wouldn't have a UK variant.
For sure, they're going to lower the deck. They're going to lower the deck. They're going to make it a belt, just like all the other ones. And they're going to get rid of
and
this
the point of it, my understanding was
put
like
a bunch of signs on it that says, don't, like a child crawling underneath it with a circle and a line through it, and that'll protect them from liability.
Or they just put it close enough to the ground that nothing can be sucked under it.
That's why if you go buy a bucket from Home Depot, it has a big picture of a kid face first in the bucket with a circle and a line through it. Because
I thought that's what you're supposed to do.
At some
that's
point,
how I feed Elena.
A kid crawled into one of those buckets and died. And so the bucket company said, let's just put a fucking sign on it with a kid and a circle and a line through it, so no more kids will climb in our buckets. And
you mean
die.
like
and
Mr. Yuck?
We can't get sued.
You mean when we were kids, the stickers they would put on Drano,
yeah,
Mr. Yuck. And Mr. Yuck was super famous. He was the first emoji. If you think about it, he was the first emoji, Mr. Yuck. Don't drink Drano. Don't eat Tide Pods.
Well, they should have put him on the fucking Tide Pods. They didn't.
Or the bleach.
Don't make them look so much like candy. They taste good.
I want to punt this last story. So basically, it was a really, really, really nice article by The Atlantic that talked about Zoom court, pros, cons, ups, downs. Is it going to stay? Is it going to go?
It seems a little deep for this late in the show.
It's a little deep for this late in the show. 2 drinks in.
Let's lead it off the next episode. Let's have a cliffhanger.
Can I tell one funny story?
Episode in Zoom court here to stay? Is Zoom court good or bad or both?
Tune in next time.
Can I tell one funny story before we depart?
No.
Just one. It's very short.
We got time. We killed the story. We got
the one that has
one
to
quick
go.
one.
We got
one
a little
quick
time
one.
to spit.
I just have to say that my favorite thing coming out of COVID is I was in front of a judge who was a friend of ours, and being former prosecutors and defense attorneys, and your friends get appointed to the bench, and you're not too close to them that they have to recuse themselves, but you enjoy seeing them. So I saw one of our friends yesterday, and through the entirety of a guilty plea and sentencing and getting the paperwork, the judge and myself couldn't stop smiling because, frankly, we were just happy to see each other. And it was just funny to me because I remembered earlier in COVID, I saw another one of our friends who was recently made a judge, And during his intro in Annapolis, he started staring at me and started laughing so hard during his introduction that he had to stop and tell the audience, I'm sorry, but I know that lawyer and he's making a funny face at me, which I wasn't. But the reason I bring this up is, yes,
you 100% were.
I definitely was. I
100%
definitely was. But I'm enjoying being back in court. I'm enjoying,
Yes.
you know, I'm not at all, I'm pro-mask, but I'm enjoying not wearing a mask. I'm enjoying seeing everybody. And it's just sort of the normalcy or the regularity to being back in court has been very pleasant, despite the convenience that virtual court offers.
Today was delightful. It was the first time I had set foot in the circuit court for Harford County in a year, approximately, and it was great. It was great.
Look,
Got to
there are
see
a lot
it.
of
And
times.
I came back. I literally came back to your office, and I was like, "Hey, the court itself wasn't
Just
great,
so anyone knows, Kurt was not wearing that jacket in court
No,
today.
I
I
was
was
not
gonna-
wearing this
I was
jacket
gonna
in
say.
court today. But
He
you
was
know,
shirtless with
I
that
came
jacket
back
on.
and I said, Jeremy, I saw this person. I saw this person. Hey,
All
this
our
person
friends,
says
yeah.
hi, and you know, it was really nice. And it's good to kind of be back and sort of see things opening back up and moving forward.
I can. For
You were in
once,
court today,
I
too.
can piggyback on that today. So we're in court, and it was actually a weird experience. So I'm wearing my mask. The trial attorney for ICE comes down the hall. She's wearing her mask. We all go into court, and the judge comes out, and it didn't even dawn on me that he wasn't wearing a mask. Like I don't know how it just did. It went right over my head. And as it was not until my client started to testify, and my client speaks very lowly, and the judge was asking him to speak up, and he said, "Can I take my mask off?" Or he kind of pulled his mask like this, and the judge said, "Oh, if you're vaccinated, you can have your mask off in the courtroom." And I had my mask on the whole time. I took it off, and as that moment, I realized, oh, the judge doesn't even have his fucking mask on. And to sit in a courtroom and I mean, we had it was a almost 2 hour long, hour and a half long hearing, which for immigration is, you're dug in at that point, but it felt fucking good. Like no one was uncomfortable. Everyone was just back to kind of doing their shit and doing their jobs. And it felt fucking good. We walked out in the hallway and it's like masks up, like, awkward fist bumps and all that kind of stuff.
The
But
only exception
in the
to that-
courtroom, it felt fucking good.
So what hasn't left yet, and is the sort of funny, sort of other side of this, is that when I was in Essex talking to the prosecutor, who's the prosecutor in that case, who I really enjoyed talking to, he was talking to me between 3 clear panels. And so, like, he's vaccinated, no mask. I'm vaccinated, no mask. But he's in this, like, Superman telephone booth. And then he, like, walked into it one time, and we both kind of start laughing. So, but we asked the question. I think this is probably a good place to land before that comes up next week, which is, what are we going to keep from COVID, or like with the partitions? When is that stuff going to go? And the judges look like they got 5-minute majors in the NHL. Right? There's like those
They're in the penalty
plexiglass,
or
yeah,
they
they're in
work
the
at a
plexi-
liquor store in Baltimore.
Exactly. And so when are we going to start seeing that stuff? Or like visits resumed at the federal prison this week, and they said we're going to get face masks, hockey masks. Didn't get those, and so we're back there, but we're masked up. So I think this is in the same way that we started COVID and we were still podcasting in March of last year, and we were coming in, we thought doing Rebel Radio. I think it'll be interesting, as Kurt brought up this article, to digest what stays, what goes, how our careers change. And I think a lot of that is going to come to fruition way faster than we think. And that's where I wanted to start today, because that was so immediate.
Yeah.
Drink review.
It's too good. That's the problem.
Possibly.
I mean, it goes
I'm
down
starting to
super
realize.
easy.
So it reminded me of 2 of my other favorite cocktails that we've done, bourbon cocktails specifically. The
Bill Cosby.
Sorry.
Jesus.
Wow.
You take that kid anywhere.
The Lion's Tail and the
Just
Sky
give
Sail.
him a Jello pop.
Give me a Peloton treadmill. Call it a day.
The Lion's Tail and the Sky Sail, and then it occurred to me, what's the common denominator here? You're putting lemon in bourbon.
Yeah.
So apparently bourbon and lemon plus extra ingredient of your choice is a good cocktail combo that I guess at this point we can just start riffing on.
So let me jump on that real quick. All right. So my grandparents, forever, as long as I can remember, and before I was even born, had happy hour every day. And it was always bourbon. My grandmother was like bourbon and caffeine-free Diet Coke or something terrible. But my grandfather was bourbon with a splash of water and they always had that fake, you know, the little squirt bottles of lemon juice you buy, and it was like a cap full poured in. And I will tell you that I have taken since I turned 40, and I'm now like basically grandparent age. That has
For
been
the Carolinas.
right, exactly. Thank you for Alamance County. That has been my like. If at the end of the evening or something, if I'm just having a quick drink or something, like I was telling you the other night, sit on the porch, bourbon with a cap full of lemon or lime juice is really fucking good.
They soften each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
They really soften each other, and I'm pleasantly surprised. This is definitely something you could drink all day. I mean, that's the problem with the normal summer drinks, and I am not in the same way that I'm not a huge beer fanatic. I'm not a fan of the sweet drinks, the Long Island iced teas, the pina coladas, the sugary drinks, whatever you get on a cruise ship. You can't drink them all day. I get heartburn from them. That's my own problem. But like they're all too sweet and you can't drink. This is one of the few drinks, and I think this goes to your point, Gideon, like a Lion's Tail, that you can easily sip on. And I feel the same way about a mint julep, frankly, because the mint, in the same way that the lemon does, the mint
Balances
softens.
out
Exactly.
that sweetness.
Yeah.
And I think that what it is also is,
It's horseways, and that Bob Baffle, he's a smart man.
or not, considering he was censured again for the.
Still rich as fuck. He's
Anyway.
like the Jose Canseco that plays baseball forever. I mean, he's like Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds, but no one gives a fuck.
Anyway, the point, like with the lemon, the way it balances out, I think the other point there is that it makes way for the third thing that you might throw in there. So in the Lion's Tail, it was that black walnut bitters that really started to shine.
Yeah,
With
man.
this, the pomegranate starts to come through, but not in a way that was intrusive. Trying to remember what the third ingredient in the Sky Sail was. I feel like there was
Maple.
Oh yeah, the maple.
Yeah.
And so the maple starts to come through. So it gives you a base to then add something else to bring to the table.
What
So-
bourbon did you use?
So
All of them.
two interesting tidbits
Mixed together.
So I
It
literally
was a Long
went
Island iced
through-
bourbon.
I used 3 bottles of bourbon, 3 different bottles of bourbon, and they all kind of just blended together in the bottom of that mixer.
That'd be called a Malone.
That's that swamp water
That's
you
a
were talking about earlier.
That's a bourbon roux.
That's a bourbon roux.
First you gotta store
We
that.
the garnish was not
Nice
a
and
lemon. We didn't
slow.
have lemons, so we did a maraschino cherry
Luxardo.
via the Luxardo
But did
variety.
you added lemon? Did you have the as Adam's
Lemonade.
been doing?
Lemonade.
Oh,
Nope.
okay.
Lemonade.
It calls for lemonade.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and I got the the good lemonade. I got the good pomegranate juice.
That good
the
juice.
palm. With
Not
the
so
little,
much with the good bourbon, but we
Not so
got that
much.
good
Yeah,
lemonade.
whatever. When you're mixing it this much, it
I will
doesn't
say this: the 2 ounces. I mean, if you wanted to actually sip these like on an all-day kind of basis, or like turn this into a extended drinking experience, I would cut that back for sure. I think you could.
I mean,
get
unless
away
you're
with
just
that.
trying to get hammered all day. That's
Oh no,
unless
no.
you're trying to get
I,
shit
I can
faced.
turn this into a large drink easily, which is you
highball
go
glass with club soda.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, a
and
little
use
spritz.
the Chick-fil-A ice,
Yeah,
the nugget
yeah.
ice cubes,
Yeah, yeah.
and I could even throw. And I know
You got
I'm
one of
just
those ice
fan of
makers?
mint.
You got
This is
Chick-fil-A ice
minting.
maker?
We're gonna buy one for the podcast. I'll buy one this weekend.
Oh fuck yeah!
We need
The
a
new
sprig of
filter.
mint. I honestly think a sprig of mint here, because mint and lemonade, all the flavors. I could throw a
Yeah.
little bit of mint in here, and I think it would be perfect.
Yeah, I think that would work.
This is the longest we've talked about a drink in a long time. This is a good drink. It is a good drink.
And wait, who made it today?
Clarissa
You-
before she left.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You might have
Kurt's
redeemed, redeemed yourself, Kurt. You did
Yes,
a good job.
jacket
with this
made
one.
Yeah,
these
sponsored. This episode has been sponsored by Kurt's Jacket.
Yeah.
Kurt's Jacket's gonna win the Belmont. In first, Kurt's Jacket. In second, Gideon Scottish accent. In
That
third,
actually is.
Lawyer Centipede.
That is actually is like the perfect horse name.
Kurt's jacket.
Kurt's Jacket. That's what all horse names sound like.
Yeah, that's my parlay for this weekend. In fourth, Ass Grenade. And in fifth, Judge Who Fucked His Commissioner.
All
Join
one-
us next week on Lawyers on the Rocks.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Lawyers on the Rocks. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed making. In the meantime, till the next time, leave us a review, please, and share the show, and
Drink more bourbon.
drink more bourbon. Go Kurt's Jacket at the 2021 Belmont. Enjoy your weekend.
If we had a horse, it would be called You'll Never Catch Me, Compa. Or it would be called Fleeing and Eluding. Yeah.
Too late. We cut it off.
No, I didn't.
It would be, dude, I could do names for horses all day. Caballo la cock, like horse cock. I